After the impact the Vienna Circle had throughout the philosophy world, the analytic tradition thrived and developed into several new areas, as well as merging with others. Wittgenstein's extremely clear cut logical atomism, much like Carnap's crusade against metaphysics, became a more nuanced theory with significantly less objectivity, becoming valuable even to continentals. After Gödel's final blow to the possibility of reduction of ordinary language to logic and that to mathematics, a less strict philosophical naturalism arose, with a greater focus on interdisciplinary research, ethics, and other areas the logical era in analytic philosophy had left behind. Not only that, but philosophy of science developed toward Neurath's more social perspective on the scientific endeavor, and philosophy of language also gained new paradigms, along with philosophy of mind and perception, besides the specific philosophies of biology, mathematics, and physics. Most of these developments happened either directly or indirectly from the studies in the Vienna Circle and the resulting linguistic turn, but also greatly from Wittgenstein's work, especially during his second phase. Let's take a look at some of these byproducts of the philosophy of language and how they shaped much of what is currently being developed in philosophical research. Wittgenstein's philosophical investigations was a breaking point in philosophy of language, but also on philosophy as a whole. He recognized that he, along with the other logical empiricists, became metaphysically dogmatic as they attempted to eliminate metaphysics by attributing a foundational role to logical atomism. How would language have an intrinsic connection with certain facts of the world? Even foregoing the idiosyncrasies of ordinary language, how would logical symbols represent invariably certain descriptions of the empirical realm? Wittgenstein pointed out that this was akin to an Augustinian perspective of language, referring to St. Augustine, but which could very well be associated with Plato, as it referred to a strong metaphysical position where words and objects would have an inherent connection. When teaching a child the word chair, one would point to a chair, and they would then understand its meaning. Language, according to him, was not like that, as one could easily associate any sound to any object. For example, not only are there several different languages which do not properly translate some words, but the words we use tend to shift phonetically, grammatically, or in meaning throughout time. Thus, a language is nothing more than a game of association of sounds and objects that certain members of linguistic communities play with each other. This would not lead to complete linguistic chaos, however, as we are all humans sharing similar biological lives, and thus, though the rules of these games shift, they also share similar frames of reference given our physique, range of possible vocalizations, and shared perception of the world. Language, and therefore meaning, was a social phenomenon, and no private language could exist, since any notion of sense required others to share and verify it. Philosophical problems were then, for him, essentially issues of misunderstanding, using different words to mean similar things, or vice versa. Thus, the task of philosophy would be as a therapy of language, to help us clear out some of the semantic clutter from our discourse. This represented an interdisciplinary revolution in philosophy, linguistics, and all other sciences which dealt with human activity and language, as the strict logical positivist perspective had to let go of their formerly solid basis. Within philosophy of language specifically, John L. Austin was the first to follow these footsteps toward a social and practical theory of meaning through speech acts. As its name suggests, it proposes that speech by itself is not simply the utterance of a sound, it is an action altogether with its meaning. Our language has then three aspects: 1. Locutionary, or the sounds and words themselves; 2. Illocutionary, or the meaning behind them; and 3. Perlocutionary, the social impact it has being heard. Thus, propositions can be neither true nor false. They can only either achieve the speaker's goals or not. This further establishes Wittgenstein's idea of the performative and social aspects of language, as the act of speaking is invariably embedded in a social context. Additionally, speech acts theory is highly influential in linguistics, another example of philosophy breaking the department's walls. Speaking of linguistics, American linguist Noam Chomsky further developed this idea into the concept of universal grammar, claiming that all human languages share the very same elements, varying according to the context of each. He followed Wittgenstein's conception of a shared framework given our life forms as humans, and thus, regardless of whether it's Japanese, English, or any other, all languages will contain nouns, verbs, articles, and certain common grammatical elements, besides similar sounds and/or vocalizations. These would be evolutionarily useful modular aspects of language, which our psychological and physiological capabilities would have optimized toward facilitating communication, one of our most important skills, given, as Aristotle would have said, our inherently social behavior, and also thus genetically inherited. During the 70s, his hypothesis that language was exclusive to human beings was briefly confirmed by a highly controversial experiment led by Herbert S. Terrace, in which a chimp, Noam Chomsky, was taught sign language. Besides Nim's skills in imitating the signs, he was neither able to understand nor create sentences. But again, this was a highly controversial experiment. His nativist view was very influential, but has been challenged more recently, given newer neuroscientific and pedagogic evidence. This is an interesting trend in analytic philosophy. The frontiers between science and philosophical hypothesis itself start to become blurrier, with philosophical theories being tested by the scientific community. Clearly, analytic philosophy shifted greatly since its early roots, though never losing sight of an interdisciplinary and practical approach to philosophical issues. The linguistic turn proved to be crucial in its development, and seldom a philosophical theory did not refer to philosophy of language to some degree after this period. In the next tutorial, we will continue to look on the main proponents of philosophical linguistic theories in recent decades.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Support me on Patreon so I can keep making content. And as always, feel free to email me, ProfessorDaveExplains@gmail.com.